Thank you, musicians. Yes, thank God for musicians. You're a Pioneer Church. You know what that's like. And we have musicians who can actually play. That's even better. So I'm finishing what I started a couple weeks back on friendship and marriage. I didn't finish the sermon, but I like to finish it. I just added a few things in when I did a marriage seminar there for Mike Stamper last February. I gave the same illustration, but many of you weren't even there for that. So I just want to get into this morning. You can put the picture of the semi-truck. And semi-truck is your marriage. No, just kidding. But no, and I said that it's true. This bridge, I've tried to find a better picture of the bridge, but this bridge, it may have structural flaws, it may have some defects, it may have some things you can't, hairline fractures you wouldn't know was even there. But when a diesel goes over, it's so heavy, it's weight bearing sometimes. As time goes on, how many know time goes on? And so as time goes on, it's the pressure and the weight of that diesel or whatever's passing over, it begins to show some of the defects that are in the bridge. It may show some of the hairline fractures that begin to show up. And about what I want to say this morning is not easy for us to really, truly, I don't think for us to maybe accept. And that is, the diesel wasn't the problem. The diesel just revealed the structure when the pressure was put on. When the pressure was put on, the weight was put on, then the fractures, the hairline fractures were physically seen. Marriage is not the problem. Right. All marriage does is reveal what you're made out of. That's good. And one person said it's good. One person. And sometimes people take the position, though, marriage is hard, it's difficult, look what it's done to me. The truth is, it's not the marriage. All it is doing is revealing what is already there. It's revealing who you are and what you are. It's not the problem. It's who and what you are. Now, we all can change. I'll get to that in a moment. But the problem is not the marriage. That's not the problem. But it's willing to acknowledge that you have some weaknesses, and like the truck's not the problem, the marriage is not the problem. The truck didn't create the weakness, it revealed them, and that's exactly what marriage does. Marriage doesn't create your weakness, it reveals it. And having your weakness exposed is not a bad thing. The Bible says, Jesus said in John 8:32, then you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Knowing the truth about yourself can actually change you. That's why tonight it's so good, because he's talking about truth. And knowing the truth about yourself, it can actually change who you are if you're willing to simply acknowledge that you have these weak areas. Then once you realize your weak areas, then you can strengthen those weak areas. And once you strengthen those weak areas, guess what happens? Your relationship becomes stronger. It doesn't have to, okay, they're going to reveal to me I'm this or I'm that, or I'm not this or I'm not that. No, the reality is, okay, this is what you are, but by the grace of God, every one of us can change. And those weaknesses, those character flaws, those things in our life that we want to desperately change and we know they're not good, well, God can help us change them. But it's willing to acknowledge them. It's very, very important. So, I call this Why Marriage Madness. I should have called it, no, I think I'll stick with that one, Why Marriage Madness. The word madness means a state of being, insanity, senseless folly, frenzy, rage, intense excitement, or enthusiasm. Marriage has, the definition of madness has all the ingredients of marriage. And there's a madness side to marriage that, of course, there's going to be. It's like, of course, there's absolutely going to be a crazy side to it for some simple, basic reason. This is not going to be some deep theological sermon on marriage and relationship. It's really simple, and it makes perfect sense why there's some madness in any marriage. In fact, if there is no madness and there is no difference in the marriage, it's pretty bland and kind of dead. You know, married couples want to change each other to make them like themselves. How boring is that? Have two of you in the same relationship? Two of you? Terrible. No, I'm not going to say that. If I had two of me, I'd be locked up somewhere. John 15, verse 13, Jesus said, there's no greater love than lay down one's life for a friend's. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you slaves, because the master doesn't confide in the slaves. But you are my friends, since I have told you everything the Father has told me. Song of Solomon 5, verse 16, his mouth is most sweet. Yes, he's altogether lovely. This is my beloved, and this is my friend. I won't have time to elaborate on John 15, but that's another message. It talks about the nature of real friendship. So one of the things that obviously hurts us, and for some of you, you're past this. Some of you, this is where you're starting. Some of you are not married yet. You'll be married, and you probably may go through this, experience some of this. But one of the things that hurts us is our immaturity. It happens when we grown-up babies get married. And if marriage were easy, people would get married and stay married forever. But people get married, but they don't stay married forever. Why? Because it's not easy. No one ever said it was going to be easy. In fact, it'd probably be the most difficult thing you do in your lifetime. Just to stay married, it's going to be difficult. Some of you say, don't depress me, Pastor. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. It's going to take a lot of work. I thought it was just going to flow. It don't flow. Some pans may flow, but it don't flow. And over again, I said in that marriage seminar, there are record amounts of people that are jettisoning their marriage. We have a record amount of men and women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s that are cashing their marriage and just saying later and seeking personal fulfillment, and they're trying to find someone else. I mean, you're 70 years old. And if you find someone, you're 70 and you find someone 20, trust me, they're not interested in you. They're just waiting for you to die and get your money. But you don't believe that, huh? Mr. Hump, you're 70, she loves me. She's just counting down the days, boy. Anyway, that's all free, okay. But one factor that helps people stay in their marriage is hopefully maturity. And then we all need to say this right from the get-go. We all can use and have areas we need to mature in, every single one of us. Doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. We all have some maturity. Amen. The word maturity simply means full development or completeness. That's what we really need. And let me just throw a word in here. It's not going to make it the sermon, but let me just say a word to all the mothers. You know, the mothers, mothers are really the unsung heroes. Yeah. Mothers, it's amazing. I was at the gym, and this guy was talking about his wife. He used to complain until he's left with all the kids. And he said, and I don't even know this guy. He's this guy. This is how guys do it, girls. Guys will talk to anybody. They don't even know each other. They talk to each other. He said, yeah, man, my wife and the kids, and then I had to watch the kids. I didn't get no sleep, man. I had to go to work. I didn't get no sleep. It was terrible. It was rough. You know, my wife never sleeps. I didn't realize that she never sleeps. That's why she looks the way she looks. Poor woman, man, she never sleeps. I thought, oh my God, I need to help her. Man, my wife, I don't know how she does it. My wife could be in a chair, and she puts the baby up here like that, and the baby go right to sleep, and she can sleep. She said, I got to put the baby right there. I can't sleep with the baby on my chest. He said, you're trying to sleep with the baby on your chest? guys were just looking at him, watching this guy have a meltdown at the gym. He said, I will never complain again about my wife and the kids. I don't know how. I don't know how she does it. And he meant it. You can see it in his eyes. You can see it like, how? And so I would say to all the mothers in this church, you are the heroes. You show me someone, I said to one of the sisters, you're the hero, taking care of kids, 6 kids, 5 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids. You know what? I told my son, sorry. I've been with my son, we have his 3 kids, and me and him can barely pull it off. In fact, we can't even pull it off. I said, son, I can't. We don't have the genes, son. They are the unsung heroes. So let me move on. And I guess, like that guy said, he's just stand in awe. I guess we can sing the song through the mother song. Stand in awe. So amazed, yeah. Yeah, they really are. But when you think about babies, what about babies? Well, I've obviously had a chance to be around a couple, especially young one, my own youngest grandson. But babies, they really are oblivious to everything else but their own well-being. When they're hungry, they cry. When they're angry, they throw a fit. When they're tired, they go to sleep. And nobody can tell them different. And the fight, when it get picked up, they won't stop fighting or making cries or whatever until someone picks them up. They see the world as one huge sphere which revolves around them. And they see mommy and daddy as 2 unpaid full-time servants whose only purpose is to come when they're called. And that's how babies come into the world. But eventually things change, and over time, babies discover that the world doesn't revolve simply around them. And that great discovery is a part of what we call growing up. But unfortunately, some people never grow up. And they see the world just like a baby still sees the world. They see the world as simply, they're not a baby anymore, but they're 30 and 40 years old. But really, they're just like a baby in this sense. They think everything evolves around them and their well-being only. Things don't go their way. They act like a way they shouldn't act. They get angry, they get mad, they cry, they pout. So I would say this. What happens when you put 2 babies together in a room unsupervised? Well, for a while, it's quiet. They're playing, they're happy, no problem. But sooner or later, it doesn't take long, one of them will take something away from the other, and you're talking rumors of war. Tribulation period. You're talking, you think World War III is happening, and that's what happens when you put 2 babies together. So what happens when 2 babies get married? Well, I'll tell you what happens when 2 babies get married. When 2 grown-up babies get married, there's some problems. And there might be peace for a little bit, but sooner or later, immaturity it's going to show, and there's going to be some problems. And babies don't make real good marriage partners unless they change along the way. And hopefully that's what I'm aiming at. No matter who we are, the grace of God is we all can change. You get 2 spoiled people together who've been spoiled in their family, spoiled by their family, they get married, and they think the other one's there just to spoil them, just like their parents did. You got some problems. So here's 5 marks of immaturity. Throw these up there. One mark is when the pastor gets mad when it's not on the wall. Mark 1. Mark 2, the mic goes out. He manifests. 1 is, the first is the inability to receive criticism. I'm not going to elaborate on these. I think each one says it all pretty easily. Can't receive criticism. You stop right there. I already preached it a couple years back. And I'll say it again because it's just nice to say. Some men can't tell their wives no. Some men can't tell their wives. I'm not saying the wives are. You heard me preach recently. I said the smartest thing you do is listen to your wife. Okay, but that's you can't balance one thing out in one sermon. But the reality is, some men can't say no. Their wives run all over them. The husband can't say, no, you're not going to buy that. No, you're not going to go there. No, you can't have it. No, you're not. They can't say no to their wife. They can't say no. I don't know what they're, well, I know what they're lacking, but I can't tell you right now. I don't know where they can go pick some up. I don't know how that works. But we're in a church atmosphere, Christmas atmosphere, so I'm not going to say no to that. But you can tell the wife's walking in ahead, he's behind. I'm coming, honey. Anyway, okay. Second, he's being slow to forgive and quick to blame. The third is the inability to adapt to difficult circumstances. You tell you, life can get real difficult. And I thank God that my wife can adapt. From a normal husband to someone like me, Lord help her. The fourth is refusal to accept your own responsibilities. And the fifth is the desire to have your own needs met first. That fifth one it's exactly how it is for a lot of people sometimes. It's all about their needs being met only, or first, I should say. And that's, they're basically a grown-up baby, and their attitude is me first, you second. So, maybe you married a grown-up baby, or maybe you are one. And remember, not all babies wear Pampers. Some of them wear three-piece suit, make $70,000 a year. Yeah. Quote, compatibility won't solve or prevent conflict. It won't guarantee happiness. A lifelong healthy family or marriage can only be maintained by healthy behavior. And that's something you can control no matter who you are and who you're with. Like I mentioned when I preached this the first time, you can't force each other to grow up. But let me say this. But what we all can do is, you may see yourself and say, well, there's some of those 5 things that might be me. Maybe one of those are you, or maybe all 5 are you. You're blessed. You married someone with all 5. Praise God. That's not the good 5 you want, but anyway, it's what you got. And you said, I do. You're stuck for the rest of your life. But you can do this. You can say, okay, this is what I am. These are the areas I'm really lacking. Like I said at the beginning of the sermon, so you acknowledge it and say, God, these are the areas I need help in. And God, I need your grace to help me in these areas so my relationships can be better all the way around, not just with my wife, but my kids and other people. So, hey, we all have areas we can grow in. Can we all agree on that? Yeah. Absolutely. So why the marriage madness? Well, number one, we're all unfinished work. We're strong in some areas, we're weak in other areas, and we all have great traits, we all have glaring flaws. That's just the truth. Okay, so number 2, remember I'm ending the message that I preached a couple weeks ago. Number 2, the reason why there's problems or there's marriage madness is because other problems are unsolvable because you have huge differences in your personality and temperament. And that's perfectly normal. We always look at some of these things I'm going to tell you about. We look at it like, that's really bad. This is what's going on here. That's actually a good thing. You have huge differences in temperament and personality. That's how God made you. Which is good. When I grew up, I know this is going back. My first pet was a dinosaur, okay. But my mom loved I Love Lucy. Some of you don't even know what that is. Some of you think it's a bar. I Love Lucy. And Lucy Ricardo she's a wacky wife of the Cuban band leader Ricardo. They're living in New York, and Ricky's trying to succeed in show business, and Lucy's always getting in, trying to help, and always usually making things a lot worse. The whole program's about, she basically drives him crazy the whole time, every episode. My mom loved I Love Lucy. I didn't like I Love Lucy. I liked Shirley Temple. I did. I loved it. That was back when TV was clean. Man, have we progressed? We regressed in a lot of ways. That was a good, clean programs. But the reality was these are so different. And every married couple, listen to me, every married couple, if you're not married yet, when you get married, can identify with misunderstandings that are going to arise when there's opposite personalities. It's inevitable. But in real life, unlike the program, it doesn't always seem so funny. Because the clashes are so hard sometimes. Yeah. You know, I don't think I've ever admitted this, but I'll admit it here. When I was preaching, I'd go out and preach. I was an evangelist for 5 years, and I'd go preach here. I've actually had a great opportunity to preach all over the world, literally all over the world. The guys preach really well and all that. But I used to always get one question. You know the one question I'd get more than any other question? Is this. No one's going to hear it, just us and the millions that are watching. But they'd say, how does your wife put up with you? That was the number one question. That's the truth. They say, are you always this crazy? How does she? That was the number one question. How does she put up with you? Now, we're basically the same. So all I'm saying is we're absolutely, totally different, and so there's going to be clashes. Absolutely, but that's okay. You don't want someone just like yourself. Someone said, yeah, she's the normal one, he's the abnormal one. She's got her planet on Earth, and I don't know where he's at. But that's what you need, and that difference is okay. But some people make it out to be that they clash, and there's so many problems, and the personality is so much different. That's how it's supposed to be, and that's how it is, and that is okay, completely okay. And you work with it. Trust me, you don't want two of you. No way. And so you think about families that grow up, and all of us come from different orientations in marriage. Every single one of us. Some of you grew up in a home, maybe there was, etiquette, there was kindness, and the words were measured, there were no yelling. That's where you come from, you're a wife. You marry a husband who comes from a home where yelling is how you normally communicate. You want to get your attention, you just yell louder, like some people do. They're always loud, always yelling. How many know people like that? That's who they are. That's how they. Can't you just talk? Ah, how you doing? Ah! Oh Lord, man, where did you grow up? Some people are just out there, and so they get married. Think there's gonna be problems? The guy be wondering, how come you just don't say it? Say what you mean. Say it. She's like, honey, we weren't ghetto. I wasn't raised ghetto, honey. We had manners. Manners? What's manners? There better not be no man around here. Manners, not man. Manners. It's like so different. This guy in the gym the other day, he had his earphones on. People go inside the gym, they're inside the sauna with earphones on. Well, everyone had earphones on. Of course, but me. They're all the earphones on. They think they can sing. It's terrible. It's terrible. You get tortured. There's guys in there. Well, sing along the songs. The guys do it. Sometimes the guys are like, come on, dude. Come on. Don't torture us, man. Come on. Look at that. I said, I know. Well, we're in the other day, and just me and two of the guys got his earphones on. You have earphones on, you talk louder. I don't know if you know that. Because your earphones are on. So he's getting ready to walk out, and we're just sitting there. And the old man was sitting there. I think he's actually asleep. That's the other thing. You go in there, all these old people, they go to sleep in there. I'm looking around. Oh, lively group. I think he's dead. I think she's almost dead. But anyway, so we're there, and the guy walks out, but he has his earphones, and he walks out, and he yells at us, "Bye, guys! See ya!" Literally, the guy over there just jumped. That's a 20-year-old kid. That's a kid for you. Got all that life, Dude, you can't bottle that stuff up and drink it. But anyway, I was getting to a point that I totally forgot. Oh, I know what it was. No, I don't. No, not at all, actually. But I'm going to say, you know, there's going to be lifelong probably struggles in communication in that environment when you're so radically different. But here's my real main point is it can work. Is it can really work. And guys, you know, if you're the one that's a little more vocal, maybe your wife is, sometimes it's vice versa. You know, hopefully as time goes on, you learn to adapt. That's all. You just learn to adapt. You know, you're not going to completely change a person, but you learn to adapt. You know, when you can, if I use the term, and you can act up, guy, your wife say, you know, there's been times when your wife just said, Carrie, don't say nothing. Not now. When they do that, it's wise, not now. And at that moment, yeah, listen, absolutely. But that's how you have to do it, right? No reason to make a point that don't need to be made. You just go with the flow, okay. Just go with the flow. We're in the checkout line. I tell the lady there, wife goes, no, not again. I haven't done it in a long time. I said, you know how you count counterfeit money? And the lady goes, no, I don't know. I said, let me show you a $20 bill. She pulls out a $20 bill. She looks at the picture. Who has a $20 bill? Oh, I have one. Well, actually, I do have one. Forgot. Oh, it's a piece of paper. I really do. So, yeah, here it is. Let's see. Look at the president. I'm show you all. See the picture? See, look at this smile. Look at this smile. Right? It's frowning, right? A little bit of frown. Counterfeit, he's like this. And the lady goes, oh, I didn't know that. So he's smiling? It's counterfeit. Yeah, because you go, oh, okay, now I know. So what are you saying, Beth? All I'm saying is everyone's different, radically different. Yeah. Now you imagine living with someone like that. Living. God's grace on my wife's life. But all of it, listen, all of us will have these clashes. Maybe not so extreme, not at all. But the reality is these clashes happen. And that's okay, because that's how God made you. If you remember when I preached that in Genesis, and God said, I'm going to make someone comparable to you. One of the translation is, I'm going to make someone the opposite of you. Yeah. Two opposites make a whole. Right. Which is good. The last one, the third point, is sometimes there's problems because both husband and wife have different dreams. You know, the dreams can meet somewhere, and that's hopefully what you want to do as time goes on in your life. When I first got saved, I first started preaching, when I started evangelizing, I was very young, like 5 years ago. I traveled all over the world, and you know, when I was young, I traveled places, and the pastor would pick me up at the airport. We'd go see some historic sites, we'd go see this building, and go over here and go over there, history and all those things. I was completely uninterested in this. I don't want to see an old building. What do I want to see some old bricks for? The guy lived there. He's dead. Been dead for 200 years. Who cares? That's my attitude. Now, as years went on, I have appreciation for history and traveling, and maybe a little bit. My wife likes traveling. The problem with me, in the early all those years, I was traveling all over the world. I didn't like traveling at all. I'd come home, I couldn't wait to get home, just stay home. And my wife would like to travel. Well, how many of there's a little difference here? I don't want to travel. I don't like traveling. She loved to travel. Well, in one catch for both of us. We need money to do it, right? So I guess we can cruise to Pomona. But the truth now is, okay, this is her dream. She likes to do travel and go places. At one time I said I would never do that. Now I would do it. Why? Why wouldn't I? It's not about me. Yeah. Right? It's about our relationship. If that will make her happy, I'm into it. I'll go and I'll look at those old bricks. I will. And I'll learn about someone who died 3,000 years ago. But two different dreams, two different things. So somewhere, whatever those dreams are that you have, you find a way to make it work together. It's not one or the other. It's got to make this thing work together. Okay? Now I'm moving through this very quickly, but marriage experts, here's what they say. Well over half your problems you face in marriage will be unsolvable. What you have to learn is this, church. You have to learn to recognize which problems are solvable, which ones are not. That was part one that I already preached. Then you have to learn to accept the problems that you can never solve. But there's two ways you can look at it. Some people, this is the problem. Christians have a very unrealistic expectation of marriage, which I'll preach a whole sermon on it, that they want this perfect marriage. But the problem with people that want a perfect marriage never have one. Let me read this to you. Couples striving for what they call a perfect marriage or an excellent marriage end up usually highly conscious that their needs aren't being met. It's an unrealistic approach to their marriage, and they often find themselves very unhappy. Here is characteristics of a good marriage. Number one, they're really good at telling the difference between solvable and unsolvable. Number two, they try as best they can at tackling those problems that can be solved and working on them in God's strength. Number three, they have this sense of peace about the problems that will never get solved, and they can live in that tension just fine. A good marriage is focused on friendship. Listen to this. But the perfect one is not focused on friendship. It's focused on having what they call an unrealistic expectation of the marriage. But the friendship marriage is even focused on friendship. It's focused on friendship, but they don't force it. It becomes a byproduct of just striving to have a good relationship. You know, I think sometimes, here's what people do, is they overthink their marriage. You're thinking too hard. Just live life. Just live life, and next thing you know it, you find out, you know what? We are really good friends. Come January, me and my wife have been married. Is it January? I mean, I know, but is it 40? 40 years in January. And she's still normal. It's amazing. She survived 40 years with me. Oh, Lord. But I can honestly say what brings me greatest joy in my life if I see my wife happy. That if I see my wife happy, see a picture of my wife happy, because I know all the tears she's cried. And I know all the pain she's gone through. When I see her happy, that brings me more joy than anything else. But it's friendship. It's friendship. And so fast forward. Some of you are going to be where we're at right now. Fast forward. You get married, fast forward 50, 60 years later, whatever. At the end of that, what do you have? You have friendship. Trust me, everything else is going to be gone by. When you're married 70 years, 80 years, you look different. You will, Mr. Buff. You'll be big right here. I can tell some guys, hey, what are you going to name your baby? Oh, big old guys, you know. Anyway, get off track again. Okay. But we all change, but when you have friendship, then you know what? It can work. One man said, marriages survive and they thrive when spouses focus on what they can give to their partner more than what they can get. Song of Solomon says, his mouth is most sweet, yes, altogether lovely. This is my beloved and this is my friend. I'm going to close there. You can watch this short video of this couple, and because really that's really what it comes down to. You see it. Just a couple of minutes.
Have collected a lot of photos to go with their lifetime of memories.
This was them
12 years ago on their 50th wedding anniversary. And
now their family worries this image of the couple crying in a care home visiting room will be their lasting legacy. Wolf and Anita promised to love each other in sickness and in health, but for the past 8 months, they've lived in separate Surrey care homes.
After 62 years together, they're inseparable. They do everything together. My grandma can't even kiss him goodnight now. He calls out for her when he sees her.
Anita lives here at the Morgan in South Surrey. Wolf lives here at Yale Road Center. Every second day, family members drive Anita 40 minutes to see the love of her life. Inevitably, there are tears. Adding to the heartache, Wolf is in the early stages of dementia, and on Tuesday, the family found out he has lymphoma.
Time is running out. We're just asking for anything that can be done, any strings that can be pulled, anything at all that can happen so that the Morgan can accommodate him as soon as possible.
Wolf is on a wait list to move into the Morgan, but Fraser Health can't say when that will happen. In this case, the husband's care needs are considerably higher than his wife's. This means we need to make sure the facility can accommodate both their needs.
They've been married for 62 years and they're now separated.
The couple's granddaughter says the time apart is impacting Wolf and Anita's already fragile health.
Let's bow our heads this morning. Just every head bowed, please, every eye closed. I really do want to bring hope to every married couple. Maybe radically different from each other, and really, for the most part, it probably should be, and it's okay, it's acceptable. But I would just want you to look at your life and realize, you know what, this can work. This can work by the grace of God. But I'd also like to address all of us that the areas of our life that we're immature in, that we recognize now, you know what, God, there's still areas of my life I act like an infant. It's nothing but wars when two grown-up babies get married. It's nothing but war. You're here this morning, you're a Christian, say, you know what, Pastor? I recognize the weaknesses in my life. Marriage reveals it. It's not the problem. It's what I am, it's who I am, and I need the grace of God to help me, but I'm going to acknowledge that I have these weaknesses, these character flaws that I need to change, and I need you to help me. If that's you, raise your hand. Yes, 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 yes. I'm talking to husbands and wives, talking to parents. Just be honest about your lives. You know, man, I'm just feeling impatient with my kids. I don't watch my mouth, whatever it might be. Say, God, I need you to help me. Raise your hand. Just be honest. You gain nowhere. Yes, I see these hands. You gain nothing by not opening your heart and acknowledging it before God. God helps us if we're honest. It's okay to say, God, I need you really to help me in these areas. This applies to every person that I'm talking to, every young person, every married couple, every parent. We need the grace of God on our lives to survive life. Let's all stand. Let's keep our heads bowed. Maybe you're here and maybe you're not right with God, but you want to get right. Just raise your hand. If your head's still bowed before the Lord, just stand. You want to get right with God, would raise your hand. I see the hand back there. Someone to pray with him. I want to open these altars. Many of you raised your hands. Just come and find a place to pray, would you? Move out and come and find a place to pray. Maybe you just